Hey, what's happening? The universe out there. It's World Wrestling Live. I'm back, and I'm just honored here because I get to start a pretty cool segment here. As you know, Spartan has gotten into the wrestling world, and they have RTCs around the country. They have one local here in the Central Florida area where I'm located, and they're moving. One of their big offices is down here now. So I'm really honored now to be here, helping them out and bringing them to the wrestling world. I get to speak now weekly with the chief of staff, Dan McDonald, who is the gentleman you see on my screen here. And something, briefly about him, he is the chief of staff, but he was found through the Spartan racing. He is a racer. First and foremost, he races very often with the Oscar Mike Foundation, which is a foundation near and dear to his heart and near and dear to the Spartan brand. As I think it's the only tattoo that Joe has in the back of his leg, right, Dan?
Yeah, it caught me off guard the first time I saw him with shorts on, right? And you don't expect to see tattoos on Joe DeSena, but that is right there on his calf.
Yeah, and so it's been obviously an honor to get to know you. I sit like, I don't know, 15 feet from you every day. But man, first of all, I mean, this is Spartan, right? This is the place where you do hard shit. Isn't that what you guys say?
That is, we are the brand of doing hard shit. That is, and it's amazing how true it becomes as you become an employee. It stays with us all the way through. That's for sure.
And so, obviously, you were a racer, and then now you're the chief of staff. I mean, talk about you and how this all came together for you, and how you're now not only a diehard racer, but you bleed the Spartan.
So my story is probably very similar to a lot of folks. In my late 40s was when I did my first Spartan race, and went to the annual doctor visit, right? And he said, "Hey, those numbers aren't looking the way they're supposed to look. The blood pressure's high, the cholesterol's high, all this stuff, and that it runs in your family. It's not a good thing." And I've been fit most of my adult life, but I just kind of started sliding the other direction, a little more TV, maybe a little more not so good for me food. And one of the guys at work and I were talking after that visit, and we're like, we should try something that we've never done before. So I'm one of the folks that was going to do one Spartan race, one sprint, check it off the bucket list of stuff to do. And that was a little over 50 races ago. And we just got hooked, and we got hooked in some of the silliest ways. I mean, I got attacked while doing burpees by fire ants that actually made my arm swell up so bad I had to wrap it and compress it to keep it from actually getting really infected. Went through a terrible thunderstorm that cleared us from the course for a couple hours. Fell from halfway up the rope, slipped, fell down, just things that would make people go, I'm never doing that again. And instead, we're like, we can't do any worse. So we're going to go do this again as soon as possible. And that's just been, it's been nonstop since then. So, 2020.
You're addicted now, huh?
Yeah. Well, 2020 rolled around, right? And like a lot of people, I had my plan. I knew what I was going to do. I knew how many races I was going to do. I had the schedule all figured out, able to travel around work, all that kind of stuff. And everything got shut down. And how I got to where I am here now, getting the privilege to work for Spartan and work with a bunch of the racers. That's my favorite part of this whole thing is working with the season pass holders and new racers and that kind of stuff. Is anybody who's ever been around Joe DeSena knows that he's very intense, but he's also got a pretty big heart, and he really cares about the community. And it showed in 2020 because I can only imagine the stress that happens to the CEO and founder of a company when everything you do is shut down all over the world. Not just in the US, but every facet of the company was shut down. He still took the time for 100 days straight to jump on a call at 5:27 in the morning Eastern and talk with folks anybody who wanted to be on it. And at first there were a bunch of us on it. There were a bunch of Spartan racers on it. And it eventually over the 100 days dwindled down a little bit. But there were a few of us that stayed on every day because we got to hear stuff from all over the world. A lot of the folks that Joe works with all over the world were on this call and telling us what was happening in Singapore, what was happening in Australia, what was happening in Japan, because we have licensees all over the world. So it was interesting to hear that early in the morning, every day. Of course, it included some burpees before you could get on the call. Yeah, that was kind of standard, right? But it gave me a chance to get connected with Joe, and on a regular basis every day for a while there. And when he made the announcement he was coming to Florida, I just reached out to him and said, "Hey, don't know if you remember me or not, but this is what I want to do. I want to come work for Spartan. I want to whatever I can do to continue helping change lives." And when people ask me, what is Spartan? It's pretty straightforward. The idea behind it is we want to build better human beings, healthier human beings, stronger human beings, grittier human beings. That's what he's all about. That's what the Spartan brand is all about. It's one of those things. We have a tagline. You'll know at the finish line, and that's exactly what it is, right? If you've ever crossed a Spartan finish line, especially if you can think back, for those who have done quite a few races, think back to your first one. When you crossed that first finish line, it was different than any other finish line you may have crossed, probably in your sports history, because you literally had to jump over fire just to get there. And you crawled under barbed wire, and you climbed over walls, and for some reason you took a 6-foot spear and threw it 25 feet at a target. These are not things most people do on a regular basis. So when you accomplish all of that and then cross the finish line, that's what Spartan is. And what I found out over these past years, and then last year, especially running with Oscar Mike, More Hearts Than Scars is another foundation that's out there that does similar Operation Enduring Warrior, the Give Foundation. All these different foundations bring out people to the race. And we have, Spartan, we have them race on us. They come out, we make sure they get taken care of, they get out there, and they're bringing out people who have survived cancer, people who are adaptive athletes, whatever it is, to keep them moving, right? To keep them going. And I will tell you what, if you ever want to see a community of people, and it's the true with them, we'll talk about some of our other brands, what we call the brands of doing hard shit. We'll talk about some of those too, and it's the same in all of them. I've personally seen it, hundreds of times in every race, when somebody can't get over a wall, or someone needs a little bit of help getting up the muddy hill that we're on, and they can't quite make it. People don't even stop. They stop to think. They turn around, they lay their hand out there, and they pull the person up, right? So while it's a brand of doing tough shit, it's also a family. It's a community.
And I've noticed it a lot just by being around you guys a little bit and being around Joe and the kind of spirit that is in the room every day when I show up here, and it's been really, really cool. And I want to get into the whole brand of Spartan, because I think there's a lot of like OCRs and obstacle course racing that goes on, and it's really big. People are trying to take after the original, right? And I don't think they realize they're a lot of them are all Spartan races, Tough Mudder and DECA and La Ruta and these kids races, and there's camps and there's depth races. But, I know we've all seen Joe do his interviews, but correct me if I'm wrong, I think Spartan started like in 2000 with just one race on his farm, right? And then it grew to 2010, where he he took the brand public, for lack of better words.
I mean, at the end of the day, it started way back with the original, death race invite, right? And then, the peak races. So if you go back and look at the history, the peak races is the original brand. And you can peak races are still out there, and it's what has our endurance, our really, really tough endurance, extreme endurance races. The Blood Route run is coming up. The summer death race is coming up. We did just do the winter stuff. So the Snowshoe Devil, we did the death race in the winter. all up on the farm, all up on the mountain up there. And so that's the original. And then as they went into, Joe realized that, he had to do something that was a little more mainstream, but still tough, right? Still not just getting dirty, not just getting muddy. And that's where over the years, the Spartan, if you go back and look at some old stuff, you'll see some videos of some pretty crazy obstacles, and crossing the finish line meant you had to go through 5 or 6 gladiators that had pummel sticks that you had to get by them to get to the finish line. So we've done some pretty crazy things over the year, and to get where we are now and to get on the other side of 2020, it's just an incredible thing where we're sitting at right now with what we're doing with Spartan OCR. Tough Mudder OCR is now part of our brand of doing tough shit. Both of them have a kids section of it, which is amazing to be able to see these 5 and 6 and all up to 4 or 13-year-olds in these kids events, and they're competing. I mean, they're out there and they're not just casually running around. They're actually going after it, and they're trying to be the ones that cross that finish line first. And we're bringing in trail racing. Trail racing is came in just before 2020, and getting stronger and stronger every year. And the cool thing is for us is as we set them up, a lot of those times they're in the same venue as where we have our OCR races. So if you do have a friend that is like, I really don't want to crawl under barbed wire, but I love the mountains, I love going through trails. It's an amazing opportunity for them,
Yeah, and and this week, guys, I know a lot of times not too many people are watching it live, but as it goes through the day, a lot of people will be watching this, and this is the first segment, so I'm trying to just introduce you to the brand through the chief of staff. Moving forward, we will have guests on, we will have runners, we will have amazing stories. Dan was just explaining before we came on of a young lady that really was told she may not make it, little girl, and now she's 5. She's beat the odds. She was a St. Jude or Arnold Palmer kid, and you all know what that means. And she beat the odds, and she's racing, and she's a cool little girl. He was telling me all about her, and people like that on. But we really want to introduce you to the brand this time, so that's why I'm taking you there. But now weekly, we'll have Dan talking about upcoming races, the races that happen. For example, I know we had Montana this past weekend, which is supposed to be one of the most amazing locations you guys do a race at. And then we have Fayetteville and Big Bear coming up. I know you're racing Fayetteville, right? But you're at 50, you're at what, 27 of these a year, 28 of these a year?
So this year here will probably be my last big year. I got this new boss who wants me to actually do some work instead of as much racing as I've been doing. But I'll do 28, I think, this year. And again, and I get the absolute privilege. I think 14 of them, about half of them, are with Oscar Mike again this year. So
all right, it's awesome. And I know that for the people who are in the wrestling community who follow me. We are going to be doing big things in that world to get you involved in these Spartan races, and I'll let Dan talk a little bit about what the movement is. But Joe's goal is to get 10 million kids off the couch into a race, and he's gonna start pushing that. But you had Montana last week, and talk about the races nowadays. I know you guys were into COVID really deeply. COVID really affected the races because this is something where you really have to be around people, touch people, crawl with people, the Jeremy thing. So it really affected your numbers. Now you're outside of COVID. How are the races starting to come back to life?
it is coming. It's 100% back to life. It is feeling the energy at a race is just like it was in 2019 and early 2020. I did Jacksonville in 2020, just before everything shut down. Did Jacksonville just this last year. I couldn't tell the difference between the two. It was the energy was there, the crowd was there. People are parking out. I mean, the entire field is full. the great thing is we got, as a company, our race directors are absolutely loving the fact that, they're back to be able to be creative again. They're not having equally spaced people out and all the crazy stuff from early 2021 that we were facing. But absolutely, I mean, the starting corrals are packed. It's not, like I said, we're not 6 feet apart. We are crammed in there. We are having a blast. We are celebrating all the accomplishments. We've got a gentleman named Paul LaChance who is in his 80s, and he did 8 trifectas last year, which a trifecta, take a second to explain what that is. That is one of each of Spartan's lengths of races. So the sprint, which is a 5K, the super, which is a 10K, and the beast, which is a 21K or a half marathon. And he did 8 of each of those at least. I think he actually got closer to 10 by the time the year was up, but he had this goal of 8 at 80 was his goal. This year here, I think he's shooting for 45 or 50 races this year.
Wow.
And we have so many stories like that. And the cool thing about it is, and I wanted to share, especially with the wrestlers out there, the people who have never done one of these races, a great way to be able to celebrate is that trifecta. It's saying I've done all 3 of what Spartan offers. And like this past weekend in Montana, and actually the 2 races, one in Big Bear, California, and then in Fayetteville this weekend, they're all what we call a trifecta weekend. So for the real crazy fanatical person who just loves to be out there, be muddy, beat themselves up, deal with the terrain, deal with the temperatures, you can walk away on Sunday with actually your trifecta. We actually do the beast on Saturday. We do the super and sprint back to back on Sunday, and you can walk out there with a special medal that says you did the weekend trifecta. The only thing I'm going to warn you about now is when you do that, now you're hooked and you're looking at the rest of them. Where else can I get my trifecta weekend in? And then for, again, I'm going to go for that person who's really maybe an endurance runner or just an endurance person. You don't need to be a runner, because I'm not a runner. I'll be very clear. Anybody ask me, I'll tell you that 1,000 times. I absolutely hate running, which is why I love obstacle course racing, because I get to do obstacles in between my running. And but we have an event called the Ultra, which is at quite a few events this year, and it's actually in Fayetteville, and it is a 50 kilometer ish. Anybody who's ever been around Spartan knows that our measuring tapes and stuff aren't real accurate. So a 5K is not 3.12 miles. It is a lot closer to 4. And a 50K is, not just at a marathon. It's more like 33 to 35 miles. And you end up doing about 70 plus obstacles throughout the day. But again, the camaraderie that's out there, once you see it, you'll understand it. And that's one of those things, right? You have to see it and feel it to understand it. I know, Dan, we're getting you out, I believe, in Florida, in Central Florida in December.
Yes.
To a race. And so again, that's a key thing for people to get out and experience.
And I know that you're trying to start a platform to where you can get people that are kind of maybe nervous or not sure or on the fence. And I know you're going to start doing a Zoom call that'll be publicly available to anybody that wants to jump on, who's thinking about doing a Spartan race, but is just kind of unsure. Is that right? Yeah.
So if you go to Spartan.com and you go to find a race, so just like if you're looking for a race, what we have found is a lot of people get to that part and then have a lot of questions. And there's no real easy place you can search, you can find answers. So what we want to do is I'm going to work with some racers, people who are currently running regular races on a weekly basis or, 20, 30 times a year like I am, and just have them jump on a call. And there's a place there to register. You click right on it. You register for a call. We're going to do it every other Tuesday. So if you miss one, go for the next one. The goal behind it is to give you the information you need so that you understand that, because I tell people, can anybody do a Spartan? I get asked that a lot. My answer is yes. To what degree you do it, what length you do, how long it takes you, all that kind of stuff depends upon the person. But I have seen people who, I've actually got a gentleman who's going to be speaking at one of them. His doctor basically told him, when he went in for his annual checkup, that you've got about 4 to 5 years and that's it. At the rate you're going, you're not going to live past that. He is now, I think he's over 60 or 70 races. He has a before and after picture, which you would never recognize the before and after. And it's all because after that, a buddy challenged him. Let's just go do one of these Spartan things, as they put it. And when he holds his arms out, he can hold his medals just line up and down both arms. And
That's pretty cool.
yeah.
I know Spartan and the military are very big with each other. I mean, Spartan for the military, he's out to do anything he possibly can for the branches, right? But I know that Spartan and the Marine Corps have come together, and moving forward, we'll talk about different races where the Marine Corps will be there, and the Marine Corps will be racing with the kids that show up to these races, and that's really a cool thing. And we'll touch on that real quick, but because we have one coming up in West Virginia and Nashville, I know, and we're working on getting some more heats for that. You guys, I guess, Spartan. I say we like I'm here, right? But something else is, we want to be here. And if any of the Spartans are watching this, and hopefully this video gets to the Spartan platforms, we want to be available for questions and answers too. So I am not here. I am definitely not a Spartan racer. I haven't done one. My goal is to do one, but we'll have Dan here every week, and you'll be able to throw questions out there. And also feel free to DM us, private message us, and say, hey, on Tuesday's call, can you guys talk about blah, 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 whatever it might be, and we can touch on that. Maybe there's things you're unsure of. Maybe there's things at the races that you wish you saw more of, or maybe there's things you're like, hey, this sucks, I don't like it. Why do you have it? Please bring it up to us, because that's how Spartan's going to get better, right? Is just to hear what the fans and the racers are asking you, right, Dan?
Yeah, and I want to throw just a couple things out there. Some of the stuff we're going to talk about. Again, you and I've talked about the fact that not everybody knows how many things are under the Spartan brand, right? So everything, and I know we're talking to in the wrestling community. If you get a chance, you got to check out our DECA fit that we have. We have about 135 affiliate gyms around the country, and that number is growing all the time. We hold events all over the US between the affiliates and what Spartan sponsors. And it is a functional fitness, CrossFit type of event, 10 stations. The 10 stations are the same, whether you're doing just the workout with no running, or there's a couple that include running too in there. So there's 3 different kinds. Just like in the Spartan OCR, you can get your DECA trifecta. We actually have a world championship coming up in Atlantic City. Plenty of time still to qualify for that. So we will have one of the founders of DECA come on and talk on one of these weekly calls. Very, very energetic, positive speaker. We'll have him come on. We'll have some folks come on and talk about our things called the hurricane heat. So if running is not your thing, but you like just being tested on what your mind and body can handle, we've got 4-hour, 12-hour, and then a 24-hour hurricane heat. Well, people come on and talk about that. So we've got a bunch of things that we do besides just the OCR. And one of the things I do want to talk about before we get out of here, Dan, is an initiative that Joe has brought to the team at Spartan and Tough Mudder, and said, hey, we have a couple options when it comes to marketing. Back in the day, I'm going to say back in the day, all the way back to like 15, right? And maybe a little bit before that, marketing on Facebook, marketing on Google, and paying for AdWords and that kind of stuff, fairly inexpensive and really a good way to blow it out of the water and just have amazing results. But as we've gone through, and especially going through the past couple of years, everybody's using all these platforms. So the cost to do it's going up and going up and going up. And the results are going down and going down and going down as far as what good it's doing for, getting the name out there and getting people to the races. So what Joe has decided to do is, let's just go back to what got us going in the first place before, when the iPhone barely came out, right? So that was barely out. Facebook was barely out. And we would go and get people locally to the race. and have them get a team together. And the one twist to this is going to be, instead of us giving money and paying for paid social media, paid search on Google, we're going to donate to charities. So we've got a program put together, and right now Dan and I are both working with a bunch of like national charities, but we also want local charities. So if you're near one of our races, so when you go on the calendar and you see a race that's near you, if you're near Nashville, Tennessee, or Lebanon is where the race is actually at, and the local food bank really could use a donation. We have got a program out there. All you do is just reach out. You said either DM Dan or myself. You are more than welcome to email me, and and I'm okay with 100 emails, by the way. When it comes to anything with fundraising and helping people out, it is just dan.mcdonald@spartan.com.
He gets 75 a minute now.
Yeah. Well, I'll take a few more. But when it comes to fundraising, you can't send me too many. We have got some really cool projects that we're bringing up and some initiatives on this. I would be more than happy to talk with anybody and share what those are. And, so that's something we're looking at doing for the rest of 2022.
Absolutely. And if you're a wrestling club out there, a wrestling team out there, please reach out to me. I've got something huge available for wrestling teams and clubs that I have the autonomy from Mr. DeSena to do as I please with what he told me. So if you're interested, if your kids might be interested in doing a Spartan race, doing a Decker, doing a Tough Mudder, doing any of the things that are available to Spartan, please reach out to me. I'll make sure to get you involved, and I'll go over everything with you. Also, there's camps coming up from Spartan, and we'll touch on that. I know there's a death race, they call it, that goes on at the farm, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so if those of you don't know, there's a farm. We'll touch all that, and hopefully maybe when Joe is up at the farm, maybe we can get him on the show, right? While we're talking, and we have him on there showing the farm and stuff, and just have a good time. But yeah, our goal is just to be here for the Spartan community, the wrestling community, the athlete community, the charities, the foundations. Joe's goal and Dan's goal, who's running the show right now, is again 10 million kids off the couch, and with it, hopefully mom and dad come out, aunt and uncle come out, sisters and brothers come out. But yeah, the goal is that, and he's full steam ahead, right, Dan?
Yes. Yeah. And I want to shoot one quick shout out to one of our to our Spartan folks up in Canada. So there is an event up in Toronto. We've actually got the Super and the Sprint and the kids running up there up in Toronto this weekend. So I got to make sure I don't forget to give a shout out to our Canadian, folks up there. But again, a busy weekend coming up here. We're actually in both sides of the country, and also in Canada with Spartan this weekend, and then next weekend, Tough Mudder kicks back into high gear after a number of weeks back to back for them. They took a couple of weeks off, but now we're moving forward ahead.
Excellent. And yeah, easy to access any of these platforms. You can go to spartanrace.com. And if you don't want to type in Deca, La Ruba, La whatever, La La La, you can scroll all the way down to the bottom of any one of these pages, and there's a tab there that says Spartan products, Spartan races, Spartan whatever. And when you pull it up, it'll give you an option to go to the trails. If you're not into obstacle course racing and you're just into kind of a cross-country type deal, you can just do cool trails around the country. There's one coming up in Austin, in the Austin Trails or whatever they call it, but super cool. So a lot of stuff like that out there. And it is 10 o'clock. We've got to jump off. Dan's a busy man. I appreciate his time. And we'll see you next Tuesday.
I appreciate it, Dan.
Yes, sir.